What a privilege it is to interview Elias Canaris. And guess what? We got him back, and he's right here beside me again. I actually do thoroughly enjoy this because the depth that you have is quite incredible. And you bring worldly knowledge, international knowledge. So, Elias, welcome again, and thank you for piling in.
My pleasure. In fact, I'm here because I'm having fun, Max, and that's the thing for me.
All right, then, folks, I need to send him a bill. I can see that. So the invoice will be for greater this time. But if you're having fun, there should be a charge for that. Right. Well, look, we've had a little chat prior to coming on, turning the cameras on, and we've decided we'll talk about the great reluctance.
Absolutely. The great reluctance. People are reluctant to get back to work. Is this a monster that we've created, or is there opportunities for us to change the landscape?
There's no doubt about it. And look, I've reported it before here, but it certainly is a huge factor. The dimensions of a workplace have changed enormously. The environment, the location of work has changed enormously. A huge proportion of the population are working from home, and that's something quite new to us all. And like the other factor is it's also the relationships within the workplace have changed, and that's all because of COVID. And the changes would have taken years to take effect happened in 2 years.
I think they happened not only in 2 years, but they were really accelerated. We had the catalyst, which was COVID, that caused us to go into a lockdown situation. And the phrase "working from home" or WFH, whatever it's called, is now part of our vernacular. But is it? We talk about the great resignation. People are resigning. People are going overseas, getting their OE, getting experience, maybe getting even more pay by taking their services, their experience offshore.
There's a lot of things changed as well. It's not only the physical work environment, in my view. I think the psyche, the whole approach to work has changed enormously. And look, you watched me on an international symposium where we got the American experience, the Canadian experience, and the UK experience. And their perspective of it was quite different to ours. And I think that's because our government approached these things in different ways. Our government more or less gave the impression work doesn't matter, folks. What's more important is your well-being. You don't go to work. And in those other countries, they've actually said, folks, get back to work. We need you in there. We need to get this country productive. Our government's silent on that fact. And I think that's actually had a psyche effect on our whole population where work's secondary these days.
I think you're correct. We have a couple of issues here, Max. Not only do we have the psyche that's changed, people now expect to work from home, but certain brick and mortar type businesses still require people to come in. How do we help to change them? Legislation by itself is not the answer. I know that you specialize in HR law and employment law, so that's an important element. But what can we do as leaders to empower people to come through? There's certainly a lack of employable bodies available in the marketplace. We don't have enough immigration coming through, bringing in much required resources and experience, especially for the construction industry, as an example. But what are we doing that will help people when we have such low unemployment?
Yeah, and look, let's go back to unpack what you just said, because I think that's quite important. And of course, that World Symposium again, it was one of those countries, it might have been Canada, said that 40% of their workforce actually had to go to work, physically had to be at work. And I wouldn't mind suspecting in New Zealand we're greater than that, because we lack the technology those countries enjoy, and there's a lot of practical work that needs to be done. So it possibly is a greater and higher number. And to put with that also the difficulties or the approach our government have taken to it, and now the psyche, if that's a real factor. And I'd be interested, folks, if you've got an opinion out there, Elias and I would be interested to hear your views. But certainly, I do think that's an issue. And one good thing that may help this dilemma that New Zealand's in right now is Jacinda's announcement a few days ago, last week, that her and Britain decided to open up the visa for exchanging up to 3 years. So those backpackers and those other people that want to come here for 3 years, isn't that wonderful?
It's wonderful as long as they take the time to come over here. I still don't think that we are quite ready to accept people back in the country. There seems to be almost like a reluctance to come to New Zealand. I'm not sure if this is because people perceive us as being slightly backward. We were probably one of the harshest regimes in terms of locking people in and keeping them away for their own safety. Let's be honest, that was the reason that we did it originally. Mm-hmm. But now, what do we do to reverse the trend? How do we change things? I don't think we're going to cover this all in this short session. So I'm afraid I might have to come back and talk to you more on this.
Wow, are you pulling the plug on this? Well, we could do that. And I think that adds a bit of bait, if you like, folks. This man's got more to tell us. And so what about we try getting back next week, and we can talk about it then.